let's go on to the NFC South and talk about the teams that are in there. And let's start first with the view of the quarterbacks. And this is a league or a division. You know, I thought that the NFC East was loaded with quarterbacks. You look at this one, you got three possible Hall of Fame candidates eventually. I mean, Drew Brees, he already has booked his place. But we talk about a guy like Drew Brees. He seems to go from like strength to strength.
Yeah, he's going to be 38 when the season starts, I think, and he is going from strength to strength. But he's not got the weapons that he's had in the past seasons. You've lost the top receiver. You've now got a second-year guy who's got to carry the load. It's not going to be easy for him. There's certain things with the Saints. You've got Teddy Ginn he was the leading receiver in Carolina last year. He's gone over there. He's not going to be the leading receiver this year, which says a lot about Carolina's receivers last year. But he's been inconsistent wherever he's gone. You've got to hope for the likes of Kobe Fleener to step up and people like that. It's not going to be easy for him this year.
What about the addition of Adrian Peterson as the running back with the New Orleans Saints?
And this is arguments I've been having with some family members actually about this one. I think it will probably change his game a little bit and have that running game now, which they've probably actually been missing. And to have AP there, I think it's going to be a big hit for them.
I don't know about changing the game. I mean, this is a team that they were second in scoring, doing what they have to do. Adrian Peterson, I guess you say he'll be a guy that'll help. There's no question about him coming in to being that guy that's going to help. But Drew Brees, 6 seasons, over 5,000 yards. He will continue to sling it. But you just kind of wonder, when you look at AP, over the last couple of years, he really hasn't been out there. How much really is left in the tank? This is AP, he'll play till he's 50. But how much is really left in that tank?
Well, let's see how he gets through the pre-season now. I don't think once we get into the games, he's going to have that hunger to prove a lot of people wrong. There was a lot of people saying he probably shouldn't have been in the game during those tough times. So he's got a lot to prove, and I think that will show during the season.
How do you think Cam Newton's going to do this year? Will he rebound?
He's another one. I think you're talking about sort of the Hall of Famers. I think maybe he needs to maybe wind it in a little bit from the outside influences and really concentrate on his game again and really think about almost going back to first and second seasons for him. I think he'll come out a little bit, and I think he needs to be told to do his own game. I think a lot of people saying he runs too much. I think he should. That's what got him to where he was. I think he needs to play that.
His reaction to that was, you can't stop a lion from roaring.
It's true, but with his shoulder injury, he had a shoulder injury. He's had surgery on that in March. He still throws too much from the back foot for my liking. His footwork needs work. But the good thing about it, even though he's got the shoulder, he's had very limited playing time this year. And he's only just started throwing in the last couple of weeks. How's that? It may be great for first couple of games, maybe fine, no problem at all. It could impact down the road. But the interesting thing is that they've got Funchess and they've got Kelvin Benjamin, 2 big receivers. They've also brought in a couple of really speedy guys that's going to help him. He may have to tone it down and play and let them make the plays, throw shorter passes, and it'll open it up for the big guys. So he's always been a bomber. He's always used his legs. He'll be the goal line. He'll still be taking it in with his legs and everything else. But he may have to tone it back, and I think that's actually going to help him long term, because he's going to have to play a lot of short passes into the flat and let these speedy guys go through.
You talk about the short passes. They have the addition of rookie Christian McCaffrey, who he hasn't had anything like this in the lineup before. We're a guy he can dump the ball off to. Hitting 53% of his pass completions is not really top level for a quarterback in the National Football League. So the addition of McCaffrey is definitely going to be a help where you got somebody where you can dump it off 3, 4, 5 times a game.
And that will probably save his legs on his own as well. So I think that is going to help, and maybe be able to manage the game and his body probably a little bit more, having that addition.
Jameis Winston, what about
I was going to say about Curtis Samuel as well.
Yes,
the receiver there. Curtis Samuel adds another deep threat.
Speed.
And the likes of bringing in Matt Khalil, that offensive line last year was banged up a little bit, but I think Matt Khalil, possibly a bit of a gamble. They paid him $55 million to come from Minnesota to play alongside his brother on the line, Ryan Khalil, who's the actual fulcrum of that offensive line. It could be a gamble, because I think he's got a little bit of a point to prove. But he's I'm not saying he's lazy. I never say a player in the NFL will be lazy, but he's got to pick up his game for that sort of money. So Hopefully he will. I think Minnesota fans will be sitting there thinking, wow, he's going to be brilliant the first year. Now, we've lost him, but I think he'll certainly help Newton and he'll help that offense.
Jameis Winston and his play, now with the addition of Action Jackson, Deshaun Jackson coming in from the Washington Redskins, him and Evans, those two receivers, you talk about maybe the two best combo type receivers, O.J. Howard, they were able to pick up in the draft as well.
They've got a lot of speed. That's the thing. They've got a lot of speed on the outside. They've got a lot of speed over the centre. Evans is a great pass catcher. O.J. Howard, what I've seen of him, one thing that people aren't seeing is he's a great blocking TE. He's a really good blocking tight end, and he's going to open up that offense. They're loaded on the offense. I mean, I think it was Jameis Winston only had a pass of. Well, I don't think it was a pass of over 50 yards last year, but Dirk Cotter loves to bomb the ball. I think you're going to see an awful lot of improvement from that Bucs offense this year.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about Jackson coming in. Well, you look at a guy like Matt Ryan. What will be Matt Ryan's main job with this Atlanta Falcons team from last season, especially with that Super Bowl where everything just fell apart?
He's got to be a captain now. He's got to drive the team and make sure that everything that happened in the Super Bowl last year is forgotten about on the field, but also at the same time have that little bit of a reminder to say we're not going to go through that again. And we've got to punish teams. I think they're going to have a new stadium to fill and put that into perspective as well. You don't want that to not be your home. So he has to drive that team forward this year, and there's no reason why they can't get back to the Super Bowl again and obviously right their wrongs. But as we've just spoke about, this division is going to be a tough one, I think, this year.
And you're talking about with this division, one of the guys that's really out there to help Matt Ryan is Julio Jones. And Julio, only six times was able to get into the end zone. For me, I think that's a number that he's going to have to exceed.
And I think that's probably been because of the weight on his shoulders. I think any time you mention Atlanta, other than Matt Ryan himself, Julio comes up. And I think this year is obviously going to be important for him now to obviously, again, drive forward. And he's got to be another captain on the field. I think the two franchise players right there that are going to have to drive this team. And I think he'll come out again. I think he'll look at this and this is the year that he can probably put himself up in that category again.
With the Carolina Panthers, Greg Olsen has always been a guy who has stood up and been a tremendous receiver. Last season, he led them in that category as a being receiver. Expectations of the guy on the outside, Calvin Benjamin, who's been up and down, even though he's dealt with injuries in his career.
I think last year they relied on Teddy Ginn a little bit, as we said earlier. He can take a top off the defense, but he's very inconsistent. But I think that with the likes of McCaffrey coming in, it's a totally different. McCaffrey is a hell of a player. I don't know whether you've seen a lot of him, but he's good in sit in the zone. He's good in the slot. He adds such a different dynamic that they haven't had before. It'll open up things for the likes of Olsen. But I'm intrigued with going back to Atlanta just a little bit. Steve Sarkisian coming in as offensive coordinator. The Atlanta scheme is going to be a little bit different, although they've made pains to say nothing's going to change. Everything's going to be a little bit different. You've got to remember that they've lost the right tackle there, whose name escapes me. I'm just trying to think. You might want to cut that bit. They've lost the right tackle, and that's going to be a big hole to fill because they had 19 games. They had that front four were consistent. They played every single game. They got lucky with injuries last year. So Casey's going to come in and he plays sort of a more of a zone blocking scheme, or less of a zone blocking scheme. Atlanta plays zone blocking scheme. He plays less of a zone. He plays more man coverage. I think you're going to find Matt Ryan stepping out a little bit. He's going to have to play from the gun a little bit more, and that's not going to help their running game. We'll see what happens with that, but I think you're going to see changes because coaches are boneheaded. They want to win, but they want to win the way they want to win.
Well, we saw that last season in the Super Bowl where Kyle Shanahan has his way that he wants to do things, and instead of locking it down and closing the Super Bowl out, he wants to show that he can coach. But with Sarkisian, I think one of the things that's going to help Matt Ryan is Matt Ryan can now call some of his own plays, which Kyle Shanahan wasn't really allowing him to do. But one of the things when I look at the division of the NFC South that stands out for me is that these teams got to play some defense. This is probably one of the worst defensive divisions in the National Football League. And when you look at numbers here, the Carolina Panthers, 26 in points allowed. You look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 15th in points allowed, 27th. Atlanta Falcons, New Orleans Saints, 31st in points allowed. Somebody has to make a stand defensively. And when you look at these teams, Carolina, Tampa, New Orleans, Atlanta, which one of them would you say probably made the biggest jump in the offseason to get that question answered?
It's a good one. I don't think there was too much to worry much with as far as Atlanta went. They've got a little bit of lack of speed at the free safety position. Whether that's going to be addressed, I'm not completely convinced. But I think New Orleans Saints will probably make the biggest jump. Bearing in mind, and he's got an awful lot of problems on his hands. But bringing in Mike Nolan, who was great in Miami, great in Atlanta, he's going to help as a linebackers coach there. I think that's probably going to influence them a lot.
We have the Carolina Panthers, who a team that was previous in the Super Bowl. Last year the Atlanta Falcons made the Super Bowl. Their defense is, look at the numbers of Atlanta, 371 yards. They gave up 25 points a game in points allowed. They were 27th in points. For me, I'm looking at them. If they're physically, mentally going to get over that hump as far as that drop off in the Super Bowl, one of the things that has to basically come to life is that on that defensive side of the football.
I think for Atlanta now, like you say, it's all going to be mentality though. I don't think anyone that comes in, unless you change the whole defense completely, is not going to forget what's happened to them. Yep. That comeback, although it was phenomenal and it was arguably one of the better teams to do it, that shouldn't have happened. So it is going to be a mental block. And let's see, I think the first couple of games, I think then we'll see how they actually get over it. I think you see that with any sport. If you let it just the rut continue, nothing's going to change there.
And you're talking about the Atlanta Falcons. That was the biggest comeback allowed in the history of the Super Bowl. And for me, I'm looking at them as a team. That's a tough job to have to overcome that, because in the back of your mind, you're always going to remember somebody can come back on us. And I think to be able to finally conquer that devil is going to be a tough job there for the Atlanta Falcons, for the team and for the coaching staff.
It is. I mean, the Chris Chester's retirement at guard is I can't emphasise enough how they've got to try and fill that hole. But they have made significant gains. I mean, Dontari Poe coming in, he's a great lineman when he's fit, when he's healthy. He's a load to move off of that line. That's going to help with freeing up others.
Yeah, Takaris McKinley, who's a rookie coming in, that should be a big help. But they have Jack Crawford, guy from London, who's signed up with them. Left the Dallas Cowboys, now with the Atlanta Falcons.
It's quite good for us to obviously have another English lad in there. We do say lad for the English fans. But I think it's going to be good for him. I think it's another fresh face for them, and someone that can obviously settle in a nice new environment, getting together with everyone there, and know in the back of your mind, this is a team that can reach the Super Bowl and potentially win. One
of the things we want to do here on this podcast show is fantasy football.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us some of the rules, some of the things we're going to look at doing our fantasy games?
Okay, so probably like for the English fans, it's normally the fantasy soccer, so we've got to scrap that. It is a draft system. It is important that you're going to be thinking tactically. People are going to go for the top names every time. You'll have the Tom Brady's there, but it is now thinking about and using our podcast and our YouTube channel to actually pick and look at and evaluate these players that are coming under the radar. So someone like Matt Ryan, yes, he's still going to be up there, but are people that don't really know the game going to go for him straight away? Probably not. So you'll catch me and Kev probably on a special fantasy show next week, and hopefully be able to get a few of you joined in on the draft.
Hey, that would be definitely a thing to do. Let's go back to the NFC South. The last two Super Bowl losers, Carolina and Atlanta, have come from the NFC South. Who do you guys see as a team that survives that division this season?
If Atlanta fix their guard spot, I think it's Atlanta again. I think they're very much the team to beat, no question. I see Tampa Bay possibly going 8-8, 9-7 again. Saints, 4 of the last 5 seasons they've gone 7-9. they've got to pick it up. Carolina, I know you like Carolina. I know you've said
Cam's my man. Yep.
I think they're going to see some improvement as well. But they've got a tough stretch mid-season. There's some interesting games in there that they're going to have to start pretty fast. And I do worry about Cam's shoulder injury and how that's going to impact not so much the start of the season, but certainly down the line. They have no chemistry. That's the problem. You've got to have time with these receivers, especially these new guys. You've got to have the time, and they hasn't had that.
Who you got?
I'm going to be the surprise person and go with New Orleans. I do think AP will have that outcome and obviously that impact and actually drive them a little bit forward. I'm excited to see Tampa Bay though. I think they could be a nice surprise package. I'm not saying they're going to go on and be completely amazing, but I think they'll surprise a few people and probably cause a bit of an upset in that division. One
of the things for me that let's don't sleep on is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cam is my man, but let's don't sleep on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Dirk Carter in his second season as the coach will get this squad together. So, I mean, we're basically looking at it from this NFC South point of view. It can almost be anyone. It's going to be an interesting division in the National Football League. Hey, thanks for watching SportsHeads. Don't forget, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, but you can also hit us on Twitter, Instagram. We would love to hear from you. We're trying to take the program from next level to next level to next level. Enjoy.